Young Alexander Hamilton dreamed of elevating his status through the engagement of war. As captain of New York Artillery, Hamilton was noticed and honored to become aide de camp of General Washington. After the war, Hamilton crafted his ideas into the U.S. Constitution and Federalist Papers. As Treasury Secretary, he further united the states through a strong central currency. Experience AlexanderHamilton.live. My name is Alexander Hamilton, and if you have any questions for me, I'd be very happy to answer them.
Do you have any advice for the money investment for ourselves?
Uh, Interesting. Money investment. I
Yeah,
must say that as I am no longer serving in any official capacity through any type of board or agreement with any financial company, I can tell you that I speak freely without any uh, ties or connections to anyone when I
yeah,
say that you're living in a very interesting time with the creation of money. And really, for the
yeah,
first time, you have the ability to print your own money, and it happens to be the most profitable enterprise on the planet
yeah,
right now. And if
yeah,
you were they put it willing to put your money and time at high risk, that high risk to high reward of Bitcoin mining would be the way to go. You will typically, statistically, buy the program involved in the minting
yeah,
of coin with a substantial investment. You can predictably earn about 200 to 300% of your money per year. Um, but that's on the assumption that the Bitcoin cost remains what it is. And in truth, the cost of Bitcoin should be between $1 and $10. So it should not be at 40,000. But whilst it is so high, the best possible industry on the planet, from mining for gold, drilling for oil, making a new technological device, or selling any idea, currently is Bitcoin mining. Quite interesting. About every 10 minutes, they give away $250,000, which they just create out of nowhere. And it's very difficult to create money out of nowhere. But you live in a
yeah,
time right now that people are doing that. I was
yeah,
trying uh, to stop people, to control the people who were doing that in the United States. We had banks that were creating their own money. Each one of the colonies had their own money. The states had their own money. As part of creating the strong dollar that we know today, I had to take all of those creations of money and get control over them. It's only when I have control over the financial production of money or the actual creation of money, then can I work to control the rate of which we sell it and the which we use it and borrow with it.
yeah,
And then I can control economies. And that's one of the main
yes,
functions of any
yes,
Department of the Treasury to do
definitely.
that. But now you live in a time where people are literally creating their own money and then society is giving it value, which is the most important thing. And that is something that is rarely done, but still historically often done. It is no strange thing to humanity to find different objects that you believe in to give them value. And at certain times, we've gone to excesses where we placed value that was tremendous upon items that really had no underlying value. For example, the tulip craze in Holland, where simple tulips were going for the thousands of dollars each, and you can use them as money, or just a future value of any type of food commodity, be it tobacco or wheat, the promise that you can pay in that. That is a form of money. The different forms of money are really quite interesting, and your cryptocurrency is just one of them. But for you to understand the value of that cryptocurrency is something which society has not yet really understood.
In your respect, or from your knowledge and experience, you should strongly against the the Bitcoin or such as this. The money. All the money is based on the national trust, right?
Correct. For
The
example, the
paper
dollar is
notes.
based on national trust. Yes.
Yeah, but crypto coin is nothing. Only from the machine or the uh I don't know how to express it.
I understand.
It's
Yeah.
from nothing.
Correct.
It's from nothing. So I don't think it represent any value.
Well, whenever you give value to something, and that's what we're doing, is you're taking
Yeah,
something which is the 1 megabyte space of uh, blockchain space, basically. You're taking that
yeah,
item and you're saying that item is being sold for currently 6.5, I think, bitcoins. So every megabyte is worth 6.5 bitcoins. That is the
yeah,
transaction that is first happening, and that's what's happening right now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
after, well, then both parties have separated with something. One party now has that um, secure space, and the other party has the coins. The coins are tied to the secure space, and
yeah,
so you can forever then make a ledger. And considering I worked as a clerk at a firm of trading firm, we dealt with ledgers on an international scale in the 18th century, where a ship ledger, a trade office ledger, and the ledger in New York and London must all meet together and be the same.
yeah,
And when they're not, there are problems. You have created a electronic ledger that cannot be changed, or I should say, when it is changed, the change is noted and we know exactly when it is changed, so that's able to figure out. But the value of that is currently that information is currently being sold at $250,000
yes,
for 1 megabyte of space, and that gets closed. I didn't make it. You close it every 10 minutes, and then it's done. And then you have another one, which is sold for $250,000. And so
yeah.
that is the business which is being created, and it works as long as they are paying in a currency which they are creating. If they had to pay in a real currency like the dollar, if they had to pay a quarter of a
But
million dollars
the
every 10
currency is
minutes,
created.
the
The
blockchain would
currency
go
is
out of business immediately.
no, no. I definitely not agree with you. The currency is created by the country, by the nation, by the
Oh,
nation.
I'm sorry. I
Our
agree with you in that. Yes, I agree. I am just saying the Bitcoin currency that they are created, which
no,
is
the
they're
bit
trying to.
the cryptocurrency. Um, sorry, I'm so aggressive. Please uh pardon my minor. Uh, uh, but I think the cryptocurrency is created by the miner or the mining
Correct.
machine, not not by the country. Uh,
Correct.
in the in the financial system, uh, from your era to nowadays, all the money is equal to the the product or the equal to the products on the whole society. If that makes
Well,
sense.
it depends. That is the
Yeah,
that is the equilibrium that
sometimes
we want. Yes.
it will in sometimes it will more or less, but not but it shouldn't be so large. Big gap, no big gap. If it's slightly more or slightly less than the value of the product of the whole society.
Yes, you are correct.
If money is more than the value of the product of the whole society, it is the inflation, right?
Yes.
So um so how many currency capital currency I mean the Bitcoin will have on the planet equal to what?
I
Is
believe
that makes
about
sense?
2 trillion.
Yeah. So what is the real value of the Bitcoin? Equal to the product of the whole society? No?
It has added, well, with Bitcoin alone, we'll just say about $1 trillion in value. The total
Yes.
value of society for the United States currently is at about 20 trillion per year. So it is added
No? I mean,
5%, but it is
it
spread
is a
world out. But your premise is correct. What you're saying is correct. If you keep adding this currency and you do not equate it to the value of the goods and services in society, it will
yes,
overwhelm it. And you are correct. But
yes,
currently, it is still small as compared to the world, but it should be a many factors smaller than what it is. It is too big for its value in the world. And central governments like
yes,
myself, we, and like in China, we
yes.
should get control over the creation of this value. Because right now, if it's only 1 trillion in Bitcoin and 2 trillion with all cryptocurrencies, what happens if that goes up to a factor of 10 and it's now 20 trillion in cryptocurrencies? No longer will federal governments and world financial institutions have control over the money and the economies of the world. We will lose control if we allow that to happen.
Definitely,
The control will
definitely.
be in those that have amassed a disproportionate amount in those cryptocurrencies and are able to then physically control it through different mechanisms, some of which have not yet been created in that type of computer hash power algorithm of power, which I do not know about, but
It
will
will,
eventually manifest itself.
yeah,
So yes,
it
we
will
do
crush
have a
the financial
responsibility
system
to
you
take
build.
control over it, and your government has taken a hardline approach. My government is slower to react. We are currently looking at creating our own digital currency, and as basically as a central bank, and that is very similar to what you are doing as well. So this is what governments around the world tend to want to
No,
do to create. If there's going to be a need for a cryptocurrency, then we might as well have our own to facilitate for the ledger, which is a improvement. It is a business efficiency. It is a layer of security and a layer of trust. A layer of trust is very important. I spent my
yes,
life living in a
yes.
society where if something was wrong on a ledger, then the ship captain, when he goes off to London and then to New York and then back to here, and they find out that there was a problem, the problem, if it came from an untrustworthy man, if a man who did not have honor or trust, if he changed something and created the problem, or if I did, then that problem was created out of impure operations. And so you don't want to deal with people like that. People who are not trustworthy will create problems. So push them aside out of your life and only deal with trustworthy people. And so the ledger that has been created with blockchain is a level of trust because once it's
Yeah,
established there, it cannot be changed. And that is
yes,
an improvement upon society, which will continue because uh, it's a
yes,
good idea, especially
yes,
when we do not have personal connections with people as we did in the 18th century.
yes, yes. I fully agree with you. I mean, in some extent, the financial system is built by the, I mean, by the government is, I mean, it is some kind of solution of the, I mean, the social trust.
Yes.
Um, and you know, as we use the note, the bill. It's stand for the I mean the $10, $100, and it equal to the product or the good of these values, and it's based on this note, these bills based on the national trust. And nowadays, in the current I mean situation, the blockchain technology.
The blockchain is a secure ledger, and it can be used
Yes,
for more than just financial transactions. As a ledger, it
yes,
could be a unit of storage, a unit of record, because each block is
yes,
changed to
yes,
the
yes.
next.
Record, yeah,
S-
record,
s-
yeah,
So you can
yeah,
have a ledger of record for insurance purposes, for what is insured inside the
yeah,
house. You can use it for contractual purposes when people make
yeah,
agreements
yes, yes,
upon land. You can make it for proof of ownership of any type of media, or proof
yeah,
of creation, I should say. The
yes,
first
yes, yes.
person to establish it
Such
on a
NTF,
block will establish a moment in
NFT, yeah,
time.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
money aspect of cryptocurrency, it is novel in two fundamental ways. One, it's novel in that its creation was tied to a particular block in the chain.
yeah,
And so
yes,
you
yes,
know now the history of that money, and everywhere that money has gone around the
yeah,
world
yes, yes,
throughout the
yes,
history of the money, you will know where that was. and uh,
yes.
and the fact
The
that it is
mm,
created just for the minting of the 1 megabyte, that it is created as the token gift to a company, and then that company's ability to monetize that by saying it is worthy of putting on the contracts. But when you do the
yes,
math of putting it on the contracts, with the first level, you can only put 1,024 pieces of information on there. And
yes.
so maybe people will pay to have something secure. Maybe they will pay
Oh,
$1. Maybe they
uh,
will pay a penny.
uh,
But if y-
in my opinion,
yeah,
the currency stand for two things. One is the trust. The other is the value. As I said, equal to the whole product of the value of the whole product on the society. And the blockchain solves the first problem, is the trust. But the second problem, I mean the value, blockchain doesn't solve it.
correct.
So if there is some kind of, I mean, such as um, gold, I mean, conserved by the, uh, such as the, uh, uh, I mean, the national bank in your country stand for the national trust. So you issue the bills.
Yes, absolutely. Everything that you say is correct. If you can put your trust into the value of gold or other items, and
Yeah, yes,
especially in an open market forum where the prices of
yes,
what people are willing to pay go up and down freely,
yeah.
then you know the value of something, and
I-
the
If
trust in
if
one's
the mark,
country is now of paramount, because we have recently taken the decision where we do not have to limit our currency just by the supply of one material, but base it more
yes,
upon the possibilities of
yes,
society, which
yes,
enables us to go up
yes,
and down. Our
yes,
government in the United States currently added $4 trillion in the last two
yes,
years to the economy,
yes,
and they're going to be
yes,
taking out that 4 trillion from the economy over the next 2 years or so. And so, just to again put it into perspective, the total value of cryptocurrencies is 2 trillion at best. and the United States just put in 4 trillion and is taking it out. And so the world is not really too worried about the cryptocurrency yet. But what you realize and what I realize is the disconnect with the value of what it is.
Yes. Yes.
And if you actually look at the value and where it's created, the value is when the miner is paid for the creation of the object, which is the block in the chain. And so the value is how much people are willing and able to pay in order to put information onto that block. So you have a 10-minute period of time where you are selling that space. And whatever they can sell that space at, that is the value of the object. And that value is quite low.
You're
You
right.
could you could say maybe they were able to sell $100, maybe give them $1,000. But if you are giving that for $1,000 and you just paid 6 Bitcoin, then each Bitcoin is worth about $140. And that's the value of Bitcoin. And because
Yes.
the value
Yes,
is
you're
what
right.
you paid in order for someone else to pay real dollars to put in. And so that's how it's connected into society in general. But nobody is making the connection between the money being paid for the block on the chain. Somehow people think that owning Bitcoin gives you ownership of the ledger, or maybe they think many other false items, or maybe they simply do not know. But
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
the main problem, though, with Bitcoin, now that we understand the value, is that in order to make that current 1 megabyte block, which we just said can maybe generate $1,000 at most, it takes $9,000 worth of energy right now to create that block.
Yes. Yes.
That
You're
is
absolutely
a
right.
bad system. That is a horrible
Yes.
system. But as I mentioned before, that's the system which is based upon the algorithm, which makes discovering the answer more difficult as more
Yes.
computers come online. So they are a Bitcoin will have to fail because it's mathematically proven that the amount of money coming in to pay for it is 1/10 or 1/9 the size at best of the money going out just on energy alone, not to imagine the cost of the computers and everything. But that's all
Yes.
based on the fundamental thought in society that Bitcoin is worth tens of thousands of dollars instead of just $100 or so. So it really is
Yes.
quite that is the once the value of Bitcoin is realized, that what it is the blockchain, and it does have some value after that. But once you equalize those, that is when, of course, yeah, Bitcoin will. That's when the system will be able to continue. And that is when the people
You.
will have to stop mining Bitcoin. You will have then hash power, which is 1/100th of what it is, because that's all that is necessary. Or you would have a proof of stake network, which is even better for it's more efficient, I should say, for the
Yes.
creation of
Yes.
the
Yes.
ledger, for the creation of the object that you may use for different industries. And different industries may want different ledgers with different powers.
Yeah.
And those
Yes.
ledgers,
Yes.
basically, how cheaply you can make the ledger is your benefit, as eventually this all becomes standard business operating procedure. You're going to go with the lowest, most secure provider in terms of cost and security.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
is
I have
5 years
to
from
admit.
now.
Yeah, I have to admit, you're the first person, you're the first man proves the value of the cryptocurrency, and I have so many debate and discussion with so many people. Nobody, I mean, and could tell me the real value of the and the Bitcoin. It's so amazing. I don't know who you are. I don't know your real name, but you're a smart man,
Alexander
far more
Hamilton.
smart than me. Really, you're far more smart than me, and I have to admit, I never thought. I mean, the blockchain itself already have the value, right? It is a log tool. I mean, itself should already have the value, right? Definitely.
All right. Good.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. I am very happy that I've had someone to be able to understand this because most people you are part of a very small community of those who understand what needs to happen with the future. Because once you understand the disparity, you now know that market forces will equalize over time.
Yes,
So you know
yes,
where we are and you know that there has to be a change, but the question comes
yes,
out as to when that change will be. Maybe there'll be another run up in price as
yeah,
still understanding is lacking in society. But eventually there will have to be a crash down because it is simple economics to pay $9,000 in energy to create something of value for $1,000 at best. And I think right now the it is public ledger to look up the price of the transactions that are happening, and I do not even believe they are at $1,000 every 10 minutes.